I'm Georgia. The train jolted softly as it began to move, carrying me and my students away from the city. Through the window, I caught a final glimpse of Nathan standing alone on the platform. His figure grew smaller and smaller until it was just a blur against the concrete, and then he vanished altogether. For years, the shadow of our past had haunted me, but in this moment, I felt nothing but release. I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was a bright and clear morning, perfect for a school field trip. I was leading my second grade class through the city park after visiting the local museum. My son, Liam, now 7, was by my side, his small backpack bouncing as he walked. I was feeling proud of my students and the life I had built. Then, around a bend in the path, I saw him. Nathan. He was standing not 20 yards away, arguing with a woman in a sleek blazer. His hair was thinner, and his jaw was tight with tension. As I watched, the argument escalated, and I could hear fragments of their shouting. But this time, I felt no pain, no longing, just a sense of distance, as if I were observing a stranger's life. Liam tugged at my sleeve and asked if we were going to keep walking. I looked down at him, his warm hand in mine, and I knew that my life was no longer defined by Nathan. I smiled and told him yes, and we walked away. It all started on a rainy afternoon in a cafe. I was 24 at the time, and I had just found out that I was pregnant with Nathan's child. I had rehearsed what I was going to say to him on the way to the cafe, imagining his surprise and joy. But before I could say a word, Nathan spoke. "Georgia," he began, his voice uneven and hesitant. "I need to tell you something. I've fallen in love with someone else." The words echoed in the empty cafe, and my heart felt like it was shattering. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He went on to say that we were different, that he had never really loved me the way I thought he did. I sat there, my hands trembling, my eyes fixed on the table. I felt like I was in a nightmare. After he left, I sat in the cafe for a long time, alone with my thoughts. I slowly lifted my hands to my stomach, feeling the small swell that no one else knew about. The tears came, hot and heavy, as I realized that I was now alone with this new life. When I got home, I told my mother, Linda, and step-father, Mark. My mother was shocked and angry. "Pregnant? You're only 24. You have your whole life ahead of you. You can't keep this baby," she said. My step-father just grumbled about being late for a party. I felt so alone. I remembered the summers of my childhood, running through my grandmother, Helen's, orchard outside of town. The smell of freshly baked apple pie and the sound of her laughter were like a warm embrace in my memory. In that moment, I knew that I had to go to her. I took the morning train to the countryside. As the train moved further from the city, the scenery changed from suburban neighborhoods to open farmland. The air felt lighter, and I closed my eyes, letting the rhythm of the train calm me. I pressed my hand to my stomach and whispered, "We'll be okay somehow." When I arrived at the small rural station, Grandma Helen was waiting for me. She opened her arms wide, and I fell into her embrace. Her hug smelled of flowers and wood smoke, and it made me feel safe again. Back at the farmhouse, I finally told her what had happened. She just listened, her eyes steady on mine. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hands. "You won't do it alone," she said. "When you finish school, move here. You can teach at the local school, and I'll look after the baby." With her words, a glimmer of hope returned. I squeezed her hands tightly, and for the first time since the cafe, I felt a little less alone. The winters in the countryside were cold, but the farmhouse was always warm. When it was time, I gave birth to Liam. The labor was long and painful, but when I held him in my arms for the first time, all the pain faded away. I named him Liam, a name that carried my family's strength. Raising Liam wasn't easy. Money was tight, and I had to juggle part-time work with finishing my education degree. But Grandma Helen was always there, helping me with Liam, cooking meals, and reminding me to be strong. I graduated and got a job at the local elementary school. Every day, I would come home to Liam's excited face and his infectious laughter. The community noticed how well-behaved and bright he was, and I was so proud of him. Life settled into a steady rhythm, but I had long since stopped expecting romance. Then, One spring afternoon, the fence around the farmhouse broke after a storm. Liam, who was 5 at the time, asked me how we would keep the deer out. Just then, a voice called from across the field. "Need a hand with that fence?" It was Ryan, a neighbor and a carpenter. He was tall, with sun, weathered skin, and kind eyes. I had spoken to him in passing at the market, but that was all. He fixed the fence, and from that day on, he started stopping by more often. Liam took an immediate liking to him, asking him endless questions about tools and wood. Ryan answered each question patiently, and soon, he became a part of our lives. He was never pushy. He just fit into our small family, like he had always belonged. After a year, he proposed to me in the garden behind the farmhouse. There was no grand speech, just a simple, heartfelt promise. I said yes, and we had a small wedding with our neighbors and friends. After the wedding, we moved into Ryan's farmhouse. The house was filled with laughter, and Liam was so happy. For the first time in years, I could lie in bed at night and feel at peace. As the train continued its journey, I looked at Liam, who was busy sketching the ducks he had seen in the park. I rested my hand on his shoulder, feeling grateful for the life we had built. The past was behind me, and I was moving forward, free from the ghosts of what once was. When we arrived at the small rural station, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The children filed off the train, still buzzing with excitement from the trip. Liam and I walked towards the farmhouse, and as we got closer, the smell of something warm and savory drifted through the air. Ryan was in the kitchen, his sleeves rolled up. He looked up when he saw us and smiled. "Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready." "I've been waiting for my fishing partner," he said, winking at Liam. Liam dropped his backpack and ran towards him. "Dad, tomorrow I'm going to catch the biggest fish in the river. Bigger than the one at the museum," he said, bouncing on his toes. Ryan laughed and ruffled his hair. "Well, then I'd better bring an extra pan, because your mom's going to need proof." I leaned against the doorway, watching them. The soft lamp light filled the room with warmth, and I felt a sense of contentment. This was my family, my home. The past didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the life we had created together, a life full of love, laughter, and hope.